From Ohio's Channel 4 News, serving Ohio for more than a decade, this is Capitol Square from ONN.
I am delighted to announce that Ohio will be the recipient of a $400 million grant.
America's Labor Secretary there announcing a big check has arrived in the Buckeye State, $400 million for passenger rail service. This is a lot of money, but it leads to the question of, would the state have been better off to be able to kind of decide for itself how to spend $400 million? Or is this going back to trains, is that the future?
Well, and it's not all the money the state says it needs to get this going, because it needs $517 million.
64.
And so it needs a lot more than just the $400 million, which leads to the question, where is the state going to come up with the money to bridge that gap? So
right, okay, I'll bite. Where?
I'm just a reporter. I'm not running for anything, you know?
More federal stimulus from a different pot, maybe.
Well, and the governor admitted to all of us afterwards, like, look, even in the best case projections here, this thing is going to need some additional stimulus funds or subsidies.
$17 million a year.
Right. So when you go into, when government says on the front end, look, we're going to need subsidies to pay for this, that's kind of an ominous sign, because usually that happens after they say it will pay for itself. So
there's an Amtrak study that says this is going to be great. It's going to create 500,000 passengers. I think 11,000 to $8,000 to $11,000 jobs. I guess there are people who punch holes in that study, but I think it is kind of a leap of faith that people are going to do this.
Well, and train advocates will tell you that virtually every public transit system does get some sort of subsidy over time.
That's
so
true.
This is not unusual for just trains.
And I'm a fan of bullet trains. I took the train from Tokyo to Kyoto a couple of years ago, and I thought, wouldn't this be wonderful to have in Ohio? But this is hardly a bullet train. We're talking under 70 miles an hour here. And plus, the way the train schedule is, there's only going to be 4 or 5 engines on the track. And, Stinger and Crew Cat and everybody else was at this press conference and all the professional sports teams are behind them. But the way the schedule is now, if you go to a Browns game, or even if you go from Dayton to a Reds game,
Cincinnati,
you have to stay all night in those cities because you can't get back the same day on the train.
Unless you leave, in the third quarter or halftime or whatever.
Maybe you could, but that's the thing when if you live in Washington, D.C., back before Washington had a baseball team, you could take a train up to see the Orioles, get back at 11 to 12 at night. As Joe said, you can't do this. And ridership, I'm told by the so-called experts, is determined by economics and convenience. And it's not going to be inconvenient to go down to Cincinnati and spend $100 for a hotel room.
Well, and it's not like going into New York City or Chicago or somewhere else where you've got a nice mass transportation system within the cities, the commuters. And Mayor Coleman, by the way, wants commuter rail in Columbus.
Considers this almost as maybe as a trigger for that.